One of the reasons Game of Thrones resonates with us so deeply is because there are timeless archetypal patterns woven into every part of the story. Every house, every conflict, every character, and every fate reflects something fundamental about human nature and reality itself. And House Stark is a striking example of this, because beneath the politics, war, and mythology, the Stark story is ultimately about the human attempt to create order in a reality that cannot be controlled. And through astrology, particularly the archetype Capricorn and its ruler Saturn, the deeper forces beneath the Stark story begin to unfold. In astrology, archetypes don't exist in isolation. Planetary forces express themselves differently depending on the environment they're operating in. And in Game of Thrones, the great houses of Westeros often feel inseparable from the worlds that they inhabit, as though their very existence is shaped by the same underlying force. As Wardens of the North, the Stark's temperament naturally reflect the conditions of the land itself: harsh, cold, ancient, and forged by long winters. The North cultivates endurance, resourcefulness, and a constant awareness of limitation. And that's what gives House Stark such a distinctly Capricorn signature. But behind all of those Capricornian qualities sits the deeper archetype that they emerge from: Saturn. Traditionally, Saturn's symbolism comes from its position in the sky. For ancient astrologers, Saturn was the last visible planet to the naked eye, so it marked the outer edges of the known world, the furthest limits of what can be seen, reached, and understood. Everything beyond it belonged to the unknown, giving Saturn guardianship of the threshold between order and chaos, life and death. And in Game of Thrones, that Saturnian boundary takes physical form through the wall. Built by a Stark ancestor, Bran the Builder, the wall is quite literally a boundary between worlds. It's the line between Westeros and the wildlings, between civilization and the unknown. Beyond the wall is everything the people of Westeros have either forgotten, denied, or no longer believe exists. Something far older and far more mysterious than the realm itself. The Starks have an 8,000-year legacy of protecting that boundary, and that responsibility shapes everything about who they are and the conditions that they live within. Their house words, "Winter is coming," distill that entire worldview into a single phrase, because it isn't just a warning. It reflects a deeper tension, one that mirrors the symbolism of Capricorn itself. Capricorn is often associated with the mountain goat, surviving harsh reality through discipline, endurance, and restraint. And in Game of Thrones, this is exactly the kind of environment that the North creates. It's vast, sparse, and unforgiving. It doesn't allow for excess or distraction. This is the Saturnian awareness of inevitability. That growth is followed by decline, that expansion gives way to contraction, and that nothing in the material world is permanent. Winter becomes the symbol of that phase, and Capricorn begins there, at the darkest point of the cycle, just before the light returns. So Capricorn isn't formed in comfort. It's formed by being exposed to reality as it is. But that survival strategy is only one part of the picture. Because Capricorn isn't just a mountain goat, it's a sea goat, a creature that exists across two domains at once: the solid ground of the mountain and the unstable depths of the sea. So where the mountain goat survives through structure, the sea goat points to something that can't be structured at all: the unknown, the uncontained, and the forces that exist beyond control. And that's where the Starks become something more than just stern, dutiful northerners. Because while they're built for winter, they also carry an inherited knowledge of what winter truly means. So winter is coming isn't just a warning, it's a memory. It reflects an awareness of forces that return regardless of belief, denial, or intention. The half-forgotten knowledge of the long night, old Nan's stories, the children of the forest, the sense that something older still exists beneath everything the realm has chosen to ignore. Even when others dismiss it as myth, the Starks continue to instinctually act as if it's real, and through that they preserve something essential: Ned Stark embodies the Stark's relationship to power, responsibility, and consequence. His belief that the man who passes the sentence should swing the sword binds authority directly to consequence, so that power can't detach itself from reality. And that's what makes his great sword, Ice, so symbolically important. It's a physical representation of the burden of power, a constant reminder that authority carries weight. But being aligned in principle is not the same as being aligned in reality. It's said that Stark men don't fare well when they travel south, and that superstition proves true in Ned's case. Because the South, and especially King's Landing, operates according to entirely different conditions than the North. It's a world shaped by conquest, ambition, corruption, and unstable power. Archetypally, these two environments are fundamentally opposed. So when Ned leaves Winterfell and goes to King's Landing, he's not just entering a new place, he's entering an opposing archetypal reality. And in doing so, he comes face to face with the limits of the very system he relies on. His commitment to honor leads him to tell the truth too early, to trust the wrong people, and to assume others are operating by the same code. But reality itself doesn't bend to moral principles. And this is the deeper Saturnian paradox beneath Ned's story. Ned doesn't fall despite his values, he falls because of them. And this is the moment Saturn reveals itself in its purest form. The same force that Ned is trying to live by is the force that ultimately judges him. And within the Stark world, that force isn't expressed through law or ideology. It exists in something older, something that doesn't ask for belief, only recognition. And for the Starks, that is the old gods. The old gods represent Saturn on a more primordial level, Saturn without preference, morality, or human interpretation. Worship happens in the godswood, often alone, in front of a weirwood tree. There's no spectacle, no attempt to define the divine, and no illusion of control. It's about entering into stillness and listening. The weirwoods aren't symbols of comfort or protection, they're witnesses. Ancient entities that hold memory, observe silently, and do not forget. There's no negotiation with the old gods, no moral reward system, no promises of salvation, only consequence. Because Saturn itself doesn't operate through belief. It operates through time, limitation, and the reality that unfolds regardless of intention. Like the old gods, Saturn is not a force that can be bargained with. It doesn't respond to goodness, and it doesn't reward idealism. And that's what makes the Stark story feel so timeless. Because beneath the politics, war, and mythology, it confronts something deeply human, our relationship to limitation, uncertainty, and the forces beyond our control. In Ned, that reality takes shape through duty, honor, principle, and moral structure. In the Stark lineage itself, it appears through winter, memory, endurance, and the constant awareness of what lies beyond human control. But ultimately, it's through the old gods that Saturn appears in its purest form, as reality itself, indifferent to human intention. And that's what makes archetypal stories so powerful, because they don't just reveal human nature, they reveal the deeper, sometimes more unsettling forces that shape it. I'll be exploring more of these symbolic and astrological patterns through stories, mythology, and psychology. So if that resonates with you, feel free to subscribe.